Hello, I'm Ken VonderHaar with Anheuser-Busch Budweiser. Been with the company for 34 years, and today we're hosting PMMI here in our tour center to talk about packaging operations and talk a little bit about beer.
Seltzers were the most recent big boom in your industry, and you mentioned that their sharp rise is starting to slow. So what's the next big trend?
It's hard to say what the next trend is because the consumer defines the next trend. We would try to predict that. We think that the seltzer market still has more legs to it, more flavors and that type of thing. But our innovations team are constantly working on all kinds of different brands and all kinds of different varieties to try to figure that out, and we'll test market that and see what sticks.
Budweiser's doing some interesting things with multi-packing and rainbow packs. Tell us about your early experience in cutting your teeth with in-house equipment and what the balance of what you keep in-house versus contracting out to contract packagers might be.
So we've installed 2 lines now that will make the variety pack. And of course, a variety pack is a lot of SKUs we have to run. So we spent years actually studying what's the right way to try to install a variety pack line. Do you depalletize or palletize a bunch of product for days and days, and you only make a brand change every 3 or 4 days on the filler, and then you mix it together? The answer was we found out that wasn't really the right solution from an economics perspective. So what we've chosen to do is make lines with large full can accumulation systems on it. So about every 4 hours, we will convert from flavor A to flavor B and C and D, and then once we're running flavor D, we will merge the other 3 flavors together into the packer and put that together. So we have 2 operations that do that. We have 2 different design concepts on how that is done. And as with anything, there's pros and cons to both design concepts. But essentially, it's full can accumulation, and then we're running it to the packer. What we have found is that, of course, that adds great complexity, and it increases our changeover time, and it reduces our yield for the line because we're constantly changing to the new brand. And that's always in competition with just getting high volume brands out the door. So with our high volume brands, you can run Bud Light, say, for a week. And the question is always a balance between how much of that do I want to do and let co-packers manage that complexity segment versus how much do we want to do it in-house. And it really comes down to what is the cost of co-packing. And in some areas, the cost is fairly high, and it allows us to make a pretty significant investment and make a good economic return. And in some other areas, it will not.
An organization like Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser has a lot of equipment, sometimes from competing OEMs. You mentioned Seamers from Ferrum and Angelus, for instance. How do you think about trying to consolidate and standardize your training at a new dedicated facility, and that's more important than ever right now, when you've got such a wide variety of different types of machinery that you need to train all these folks on?
It's essentially, we decide, for example, do we put an Angelus Seamer in this training center or a Ferrum Seamer? We decide on a couple of factors. Number one, how many Angelus machines do I have versus Ferrum machines? And in this particular case, I have a lot of Angelus machines and only a few Ferrum. But it also depends on risk. If we're having a lot of Ferrum problems and people don't know how to work on the machine, we will make a decision to put that machine into our training center. But for the most part, it's based off of where our biggest gaps are around daily operation, which means if there's a machine that we have more of, we will pick that one, and the biggest risk of downtime.
Given the ultra-tight labor market and the situation at Budweiser where 40% of its workforce is reaching retirement age soon, what are you asking your machine builder and OEM partners in terms of how accessible and easy to use they make the machinery in that environment? So
essentially, we're asking for simplicity. We would like all the complexity to be under the hood, and we would like an operator interface that's very simple, that's easy to understand, and that our younger employees are able to interface with some type of video screens and that type of thing, as well as setup procedures that would be built into the operator screen. And the same thing goes for training our operators to do that also. So this is Ken VonderHaar with Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser. We appreciate PMMI coming to St. Louis here and being a part of our tour and enjoying our facilities, and thank you guys for coming.